Okay.
All right.
Live.
All right.
Okay.
Well, this is episode 4 of Movie Madness.
Yes.
This time we're going to do something different. I'd say this would be our first gripe, huh?
Yes.
All right. For those that don't know what gripe is, it means we got complaints and we got issues and, well, let's say this movie earns it.
Yes.
And I'm not doing the talking this time. My buddy Brian here is going to be the one doing it.
Okay. One thing I want to get out of the way really quick. Neither of us have anything against Tom Holland as an actor,
No.
or anybody like any of the actors in the movie, or any of the people who worked on the movie. We have nothing against any of those people.
No. I mean, Tom Holland, he's a really good actor. Like,
yes.
I've seen him in Uncharted. He was okay. He was okay.
Yeah.
But for a lot of his stuff, he does pretty good work. And, you know, even with Michael Keaton and all the people that worked on it, it's like, hey, thanks for making us this movie.
Yeah.
However, what was it? I'd say compared to the previous Spider-Man movies that we had,
He's definitely the weakest.
And why would you say that?
It doesn't feel like Spider-Man, if you know what I mean.
Not quite. What do you mean by that?
How do I put this? Okay.
Well, let's start with, you know, Tom Holland's character. How was
yeah.
What was
like Tom Holland himself isn't the issue. It's the way his character is written.
that is accurate. I would say that is indeed accurate.
Yeah.
Nia is the cute, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So was how Tom Holland's Spider-Man was written. How was he written? Like, kind of
like it felt less like Spider-Man, and like I know like he got this comparison a lot, but like I know a lot of people compared him to like Iron Boy Jr.
I mean, that's fair because, I mean, in this case, Spider-Man does have a mentor, which is Tony Stark's Iron Man.
Yeah. Which even Iron Man like fails miserably as a mentor. Like
He does. I will be honest with that one. Iron Man doesn't really do a whole lot of mentoring. Now, I might be drawing upon my own experience as someone that had a mentor when he was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
But the mentor was the one that showed me the ropes, showed me how to do the job that I was in an internship for. And I eventually got to take over their class and their day for a time being. And I worked, man. I busted my butt. I basically took on all their responsibilities. And they gave me some feedback, you know, like, hey, you did this well, you didn't do this well, da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
But there was always a sense of communication and feedback when it came to working. Because I went into an internship with the expectation of I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm trying to get myself from, like, you know, on a 1 to 4 point scale, I'm trying to get myself from, like, you know, maybe a 1.5 to, I would say, you know, 3.5, maybe close to 4.
Yeah.
In this case, you're right. Tony Stark does not do a whole lot of mentoring. If anything, the way he's written is that he's off somewhere else doing other shit.
Yeah.
And not only that, he's the other thing that annoys me is when I was talking about criticism and feedback as well as communication, that's the other thing. There wasn't any communication with Tony and Peter.
No, there really wasn't.
So with Tom, the way Tom Holland's Spider-Man was written, how would you say it was? Like, gung ho, like just waiting for his big shot up to the big time.
Yeah.
And then just being met with like brick wall. I'm doing a lot of talking. What the heck?
I know. The other thing is that with this movie in particular, it doesn't like. I never really got the sense that Peter really learned anything during the movie.
Really? Like, he...
Like...
What about that moment where he's lifting all that rubble with well, that's without his suit.
I mean, yeah. Like, they try to go for the whole, like, with great power comes great responsibility thing. Which they do the same message in No Way Home, and it's done infinitely better.
That I can't agree with. Because not only that, there's a noticeable lack of that theme, which is, with great power comes great responsibility. All right, hey, thanks, DigiK. It's Digit K, okay. I'm like, either I'm forgetting the T or what. Hey, what you talking about, huh? So, you're saying that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is, like, it's written a little immature?
Yeah. And, because, the thing about Spider-Man is that, like, okay, well, one, Spider-Man and Peter Parker are supposed to be, like, aren't they supposed to be, like, like, kind of like two different characters in a way?
Spider-Man and Peter Parker?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be, I would almost say, like two halves of the same coin.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. It's sort of like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but Mr. Hyde's like, a wise cracking, punch throwing, web swing guy, superhero.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever Tom Holland was in, because Spider-Man is supposed to be like this, like kind of like awkward, like teenager kind of person.
I mean, he the way he was written in the comic books was that he was like an awkward nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, but then when he puts on the costume, it's he's like suddenly like all like confident and making like quips and all that.
Yeah.
Never for the entire movie, I kept getting the feeling that I never felt that that Tom Holland and Peter Parker were like two different.
Not two different sides of him?
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, because you're always... I've noticed this with the other Peter Parkers that played Spider-Man, which was that you had Tobey Maguire first played Peter Parker, and he started off like awkward, weird, and as a nerd, but he got more confident as Peter Parker when he became Spider-Man. So you could tell he was better as Peter Parker than he was as Spider-Man. Now, with Andrew Garfield, you got the sense that he was playing Spider-Man the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, there was no awkward, nerdy dating sort of thing. It's just, boom, I'm Spider-Man. With Tom Holland, I think there was that trying to get both of them. Like, he tried to be that awkward nerd, but he was a lot better as Spider-Man. Because it was more like he was more relaxed, whereas... this could be either the way that it was written or the way he was acting. You just felt like as Peter Parker, it was like wearing a suit. Yeah. But not a suit that fits you, a suit that's like your dad's hand-me-down suit that's like way too big on you.
Yeah. And one of the biggest criticisms I've heard from Spider-Man Homecoming is that Peter essentially gets everything handed to him.
That I can see that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's another. Um, yeah. Um, Also, okay, I think my biggest issue, well, two of my biggest issues with this movie. Um, One, almost every character in this movie is an asshole. Like,
I mean, Flash is already that, so but
yeah,
that's playing the character well. Yes.
yeah. And two, there was way too much Peter Parker in this movie, and not enough Spider-Man.
Okay, I can kind of see that because it was like they were trying to focus on Peter Parker, even though almost every kid knows, like, hey, Peter Parker, he's Spider-Man. He's awkward, weird, nerd. He got bit by a radioactive bug. Now he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with them not doing the origin again,
right?
But to not even mention Uncle Ben.
That's one of the things that did bother me, which is that they didn't mention Uncle Ben. But even then, when they introduced him in Civil War, they didn't mention Uncle Ben at all.
Yeah,
just that Aunt May was just by herself.
Right.
Now, I guess we're supposed to go in there with the understanding, Uncle Ben is gone, which, okay, I get that. But it would make more sense if there was still some form of tribute to him.
Yes.
Like, just a passing message from May saying, I miss your uncle. I miss him so much. He really loved you, Peter.
Yeah. And they never specify, if Uncle Ben is actually dead or if he's just, not in the picture.
Well, I would think they're trying to, go by people's assumptions, which in movies you shouldn't go off of that because it ultimately leads to a weaker product. I would say, he's dead because you don't have Spider-Man unless Uncle Ben is dead.
Yeah, and that's really the biggest thing against Tony Stark is that they tried to make him into a pseudo Uncle Ben, and it did not work.
No, I can agree with that. That was just it did not work so well because, quite frankly, Tony Stark is not Uncle Ben.
No.
He will never be Uncle Ben. He is better as a mentor, but he should not be written as if he were like an Uncle Ben.
Right. Right.
But in this case, he also shouldn't be like, "Oh, I'm off taking care of other stuff. Don't worry, I got this handled." Well,
Yeah.
Not even. He didn't even say, "I got this handled." He just basically said, "Don't worry about it, kid. I got it covered."
Yeah. Yeah. Tony was basically here, you can have the suit. You're on your own.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Which that's fine if you're in retail. Excuse me, but when you're a superhero and you're taking this kid under your wing, you got a responsibility to, show him the ropes.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So, Tom Holland's Spider-Man wasn't written, all that well. I mean, you think it should have been more Spider-Man than Peter Parker?
That and I think I'd probably be much more forgiving towards Tony Stark in this movie if he were in it more.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but it's also Spider-Man's first,
True. And you don't want Tony that's probably why they didn't give Tony as much screen time, is because they didn't want him stealing the spotlight.
Well, not only that, they don't want him so much in the picture because they got to wrap up the whole universe with Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like it or not, that's what they had to do. let's see. With Tony, he wasn't really in this so much, which, okay, fair enough. So if he's not in the movie and supposed to be a mentor to Spider-Man,
Yeah, and in the trailer, for Spider-Man: Homecoming, they had this really cool shot of um, Spider-Man and Tony flying through the city together. You remember that?
yeah, I did.
That was not in the movie.
It was not. But Disney has a habit of putting in shots that aren't in the movie.
Yeah, that is also true.
I mean, good look at No Way Home when you got Lizard, Sandman, Electro. They're all coming through, and then all of a sudden, Lizard looks like, got hit.
Well, that's because they were trying to keep Toby and Andrew a secret. They failed miserably.
They failed. Like, as soon as they said No Way Home and they mentioned the multiverse, we're like, this is gonna happen, isn't it? Like, we had all seen Into the Spider-Verse. We knew this was gonna happen.
Yes.
Excuse me.
But okay.
So let's see. So the heroes weren't written so well. How about the villain? Yeah.
I know a lot of people really like Vulture in this movie.
He was likable because he's a lot like a guy that's a working man, down on his luck, is trying to provide for his family, and reasonable origin. Oh, we're taking away your funding. You no longer have this project.
Okay. But my issue is that he doesn't interact with Peter enough.
Vulture?
Yeah.
He really doesn't, but I mean, even like quips or even talking in the fight scenes, there's like not a whole lot.
No, there really isn't.
Which that's par for the superhero action movie genre, which is like fights going on, not a lot of talking.
Yeah, and also like for a superhero movie, the stakes were not all that high.
Not really.
I'm gonna go rob a plane. Okay.
Well, this is Tony Stark's plane.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you know who should be taking care of that? Tony Stark.
Yeah. And not to mention like Peter, his whole mission was to try and stop Vulture from was it to stop him from crashing the plane, or
just stop him from taking Tony's shit?
Yes. And he doesn't even succeed at that.
He really doesn't. All he does is crash the plane and get Toomes arrested.
Yes. And
which that does the job of hey, he's caught, he's not gonna be taking any more stuff.
Yeah. And then we never see him again after that. But
we really don't. I mean, they even made a point of saying, that showing off Scorpion, Matt Gargan.
Yeah.
And he just fell by the wayside.
Yeah. But going back to the hijacking. Not only does he, he succeeds in stopping Vulture, but he ends up crashing the plane and costing Tony millions.
Yeah, and then PR as well. Which I look at that and I'm like, perhaps Tony should have taken care of that. Because even then, Tony was saying, with the Staten Island ferry scene, he's like, I called the FBI. I let them know about this. Okay. But then, Vulture still got away.
Right.
So would you think, hey, he's still out there. I've got important stuff coming. Can I at least get a squadron to protect the plane?
Yeah.
You would think that would be useful. It's like a little bit of communication. That I think that seems to be the massive fail at this whole thing in this whole movie is that there's a noticeable lack of communication.
Yeah.
Not just from Happy, but also from Tony.
Yeah. And speaking of Happy, like, he was like kind of like just like in a bad mood for the entire movie, and it was.
It was almost like he couldn't be bothered with helping out Spider-Man or saying, "Listen, I already told Tony about this. Sit back."
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing going back to the whole comment about almost every character feeling like unlikable, it kind of puts like this mean-spirited tone on the movie, which makes it really unpleasant to sit through.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, even Zendaya's MJ was just like snarky to the point where it's like you're annoying.
Oh my god, she did nothing throughout the entire movie. Like,
she didn't. She didn't do a whole lot of nothing. And then there was Ned, who granted, he's like, "Oh, I'm Spider-Man's best friend." When Peter's telling him, "Shut up about that."
Yeah.
And he can't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah. So
I mean, I don't know. What would we do though in order to make this from like being a disappointment? What could we do to make it so that it don't suck? That it's not a disappointment, but rather it's like, hey, this is a moderate or decent success.
Yeah. I would say, the biggest thing would be have better communication.
Yes, I would definitely say that would solve a whole lot of issues.
Yeah. Better communication. Have most of the characters be at least a little bit more likable.
Right, like not have them be so snarky all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe Zendaya could have toned it down just a couple notches at least. But then with Ned, I would say with Ned, I don't know, tell him like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Like even maybe a little gag because Ned's supposed to be a comedy character in this.
Right.
So maybe
and he did have some funny lines.
He did, but even like have Peter say, "Dude, don't shut up! I'm gonna whip your mouth shut."
Yeah. Yeah, and not to mention like the action was severely lacking in this movie.
Yeah, this one was supposed to be like a coming of age story or something like that. It did not feel like a coming of age story. It felt like one of those high school movies that's just like, that is.
I watched this movie with my parents once, and even they hated it. Like,
really?
Yes. They called it Spider-Man's coming out party, which I thought was funny.
That fits. That fits because I was expecting, this big grand, Spider-Man movie where it's like, hey, I've finally come back to Marvel. I've come home.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that.
No.
So we would say, in order to fix it, better communication, make the characters more likable, less snarky. 3, actually have Tony be more of a mentor.
Yes.
Because that's a big one. If Tony is supposed to be the mentor for Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and he said, I don't want you to be like me, I want you to be the opposite of me. There may be, what he should do is be the opposite of you. Okay, so then be more attentive.
Right.
I mean, I would have to say this had to be one of the Marvels. It wasn't a so serious flop, but it was certainly like a disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying it's like I would say it's better than Iron Man 3 and Thor: Dark World, those two movies, but even still, it was this one just kind of failed. It was almost like if you wanted to establish your character, then you should have, I don't know, made it feel like his own standalone movie instead of like, Spider-Man, no communication.
Yeah. And the other thing was that they introduce all of these new characters into the movie, and yet we never see them again afterwards.
Right, like there was Shocker.
Right, we had Shocker, Vulture.
Mm-hmm.
I am not counting Morbius.
Where was Morbius in that movie?
No, Vulture was in Morbius.
Oh, in Morbius.
Yes.
Okay.
I am not counting that.
No, we're focusing exclusively on Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah. So, Shocker, Vulture, Liz, who I guess appeared on some magazine in No Way Home, but that doesn't count.
It really doesn't. Like, Liz is supposed to be one of Peter's, original flames.
So she is in the comics.
She is in the comics, but with this one, they kind of did her a little dirty.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm used to, like, Spider-Man where Liz Allen is, like, kind of a tool to Peter.
Yeah.
Because she's with Flash and the Jocks.
Yeah. Yeah. And, they had that twist where, Liz was actually, Vulture's daughter.
Yeah, which I will commend them on that. That was pretty cool. That was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But I would say it's, I don't know, it was like one good twist that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just too bad they didn't really do anything with it.
No, it isn't. And then, of course, ultimately what happens is that she moves away. Okay.
Yeah.
So, this movie almost felt like it didn't matter. It's one of those movies where it was like Godzilla, King of the Monsters sort of thing. It's like, at that point, the MCU was too big to fail, and too much had happened for Spider-Man to be like, okay, well, this is just a movie to fill it in, and it's like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Which, okay, but you still gotta entertain us, and in all honesty, the fight scenes, the peril scenes, and the, the mystery sort of thing, I don't know, there wasn't a whole lot of detective work.
No, and
it was just that Peter stumbled across who Vulture was.
Yeah.
That was it.
And why did he think it was a good idea to take that, what was it, like a bomb thing?
What thing was it?
That purple exploding thing.
Purple, oh yeah, sort of like a bomb or something like that.
Why did he think it was a good idea to take that? Oh my god. Like, you don't know what this thing is. You don't know what it can do.
It's basically one of those moments, we don't know what it is. Throw it!
Why did he think it was a good idea to take it with him?
I have no idea. And it was one of those ones where it's alien technology. It's from the Chitauri. So we don't know what it does or how well it works.
Right. And then, not to mention, like, that vault scene went on for way too long.
Yeah, that vault scene was like a bit of a drag. But then again, to be fair, a lot of the, suit telling him like, hey, you should probably go see about doing this, that, and the other.
Yeah. Okay, that's the other thing. The AI, was that supposed to replace the spider sense?
No, it's another one of those things where a lot of people have said it's almost like Iron Boy Jr.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like putting in a mini Jarvis into the spider suit.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Spider-Man. He's not some dumb kid. He was very much an honors student in high school and did really well in college.
He's supposed to be a genius.
He's supposed to be wicked smart.
Yes. So the fact that he's being portrayed here as, I don't know, maybe stupid is too harsh.
Well, not as bright as he should be.
Yeah. It's almost insulting.
It is, in all honesty, which is another thing that I've got a problem with the way that he was written. It was almost like he was written by, a middle schooler, in a way.
Yeah.
Which, when you're in middle school, you're like, oh, well, I just created this hero, and he can do everything, and he's invulnerable to everything because I said so.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. It's not going to work at all.
Yeah, this movie was frustrating to sit through.
It honestly was. Even when I remember sitting it in theaters with you, and you were watching it the second time. Or something. It was first for me. Guy on the phone, just that's the other thing that bothered me. I wanted to get so invested in this movie, and I couldn't. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
A person on their phone was way more interesting to me than someone on the screen playing their part.
Yeah. Although I will say, the only action.
But it's hard.
Yes.
You're at a loss for words because of how bad this movie was. Oh my god! Some of the fight scenes they were good. They were good.
Yeah. The scene in Washington.
That one where he has to climb up the Washington Monument. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's one of the cool. That's I think one of the only. No, that's one of the few cool moments in that movie.
Yeah.
The other one being a reference to when Spider-Man had to pick up all this rubble, just pick it up and it was illustrated in the comic books. Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool. He was doing it in his homemade suit. Which that's another thing. The homemade suit actually looked good. Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't sleek or shiny. It was supposed to be something that you would cobble together. Something a person who's not living the best life as just a teenager could cobble together.
Yeah.
Which that's fair.
Yeah. And one major example of Peter kind of getting everything handed to him is when Tony takes away the suit halfway through the movie. And then he ends up getting it back.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I guess it was supposed to teach him a lesson or something like that. And he did. He learned a lesson. But even then, he gets the suit back, but immediately is offered the upgrade.
Yes.
Just because he did stuff that Tony couldn't be bothered to do.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that he turns down the Iron Spider suits, and then immediately gets it in Infinity War. So it's what was the point?
Well, I think it was to be able to save his life, which I could see the immediate oh yeah, he's dying due to lack of oxygen. Yeah. But even then, it's you could honestly say the Homecoming suit was almost pretty much the Iron Spider suit. It just was missing the arms.
Right.
There was no reason. Like, you could have, honestly, that's a thing I got with this movie. You could have gotten rid of the Iron Spider suit. You could have gotten rid of it and just had it be a backpack.
Right.
That's it. It's much like the cartoons, where it's just a backpack, and it's like an outer shell sort of way.
Yeah. That's something they did in like the Spider-Man video game, the PS4 game, which I'll just say, Spider-Man, the way Spider-Man was depicted in that game was perfect.
It was very much a much better and perfect rendition of who Spider-Man's supposed to be, which is not to say that Tom Holland's was bad, but come on, when you compare the two, which one are you going to want to do more? Play the Spider-Man video game or watch Spider-Man Homecoming? Well, let me ask you this. Which out of the 3 movies, Spider-Man Home trilogy, which one would you rather watch right now?
No Way Home by far.
Easily. Yeah. All right. Second one you'd watch.
Second one.
Far From Home?
Far From Home.
Which puts Homecoming dead last.
Yeah.
Which should show that the strengths that it was trying to show are more weaknesses than it is a strength.
Yeah.
Writing wasn't good. Communication was lousy.
Yeah.
Which goes back to the writing, because they're like, oh, we're going to make Tony be aloof and stuff. Just, it didn't work.
It really didn't.
And the villains, like, they weren't exactly compelling, in all honesty. They were just there like, we're just here for the money. And Vulture only had a slightly redeeming quality where it's like, I'm doing this to help keep my family, to make sure that they're looked after, which should be relatable, which should be very relatable to anybody, whether they're a father or a son.
Yeah, and the Liz thing kind of reflects on the other movies as well, because what I would have done differently is I would have taken Liz out of the movie and made MJ Adrian's daughter. I think that would have worked a lot better.
It probably would have worked a heck of a lot better. Because in all honesty, the two, well, Adrian has just a little bit of snark. And Michael Keaton provides a nice, almost everyman sort of vibe to it, but also just a little bit of snark, so you could easily say, like, yeah, just get rid of, Liz and just focus it on MJ.
Yeah, and develop their relationship.
Right, because at this point, all they are between Peter, Ned, and MJ is that they're strangers. They know each other, so you could say acquaintances.
Yeah, because one of my biggest issues with Far From Home was that was the fact that Peter's crush on MJ, like, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's something else, because it was almost jarring, because we know Peter's supposed to end up with MJ. It's in the comics. It is like common sense, like folklore. But for it to go from, oh, I'm crushing on Liz, to the next movie, after I'm brought back to life, oh, I'm crushing on MJ. Where?
When did this happen?
Throughout all of Homecoming, Zendaya's MJ was kind of like a ball buster, more than anything. Like, chastise him, make fun of him, just, in general, like, in a way, pound this guy's self-confidence and self-esteem down.
Yeah.
And the only time you see, like, she's interested is, like, where are you going, Parker? At the end, when she becomes, like, what is it, the debate team?
Yeah.
No, wait, it's the academic decathlon. Yeah. The captain of it. So for it to go from their acquaintances to one's having a crush on the other, it is like that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's almost like out of left field. So I guess that would be something that I would have a gripe on for Homecoming and Far From Home.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, with Spider-Man: Homecoming, it just wasn't good.
No, it really wasn't. And I know there are people who like this movie, and like if you like it and you think it's your favorite Spider-Man, that's fine.
There's
Like,
nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
But I would say out of all the Spider-Man movies, I would have to say No Way Home would be my favorite. Second favorite would have to be Spider-Man 2
yes,
with Tobey Maguire. That one was like the quintessential Spider-Man movie.
yeah, and like what I wanted them to do was bring in Sam Raimi. What they should have done was bring in Sam Raimi as a consultant for these for all three of these movies.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my personal preference would have been, also bring on Stan Lee as a consultant for that. But let's be honest, the guy was too old at the time, and, he was happy with his cameos.
Yeah.
And plus, he was like, listen, just do Spider-Man like this, it'll work. And he's getting paid either way. You put Spider-Man, one of his characters, up on screen, ching, 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 ching. He's making money.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But I would say yes. I agree. Bring on Sam Raimi for consultant because he had the most successful Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah. And
Today. Well, I'm still going to say today.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, with the Home trilogy, the only really massively successful one was No Way Home.
Yeah. And Sam Raimi was really the only one to actually get the character right. So
pretty much. Now, I personally would have preferred if Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man would have had more quips.
Yeah.
But beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah.
Boy, we just do not like this movie so much that we're like destroying it. Let me put it this way. If I had a choice between watching Spider-Man Homecoming and watching two cats dry heave like constantly fur balls up and just coat where you and I coat where I live in nothing but hairballs, I would rather watch that. Because then I would just say, okay, what's coming up? What's coming up? What's coming up?
Also, one person I forgot to mention that was never mentioned again after Homecoming was Aaron Davis.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Aaron Davis, it was almost like they were trying to set it up. That's another thing. It was almost like they were trying to set up for Miles Morales from the jump with Spider-Man when it's like, you can do Miles Morales. However, you have to have Peter Parker first.
Right.
Which I would say, Donald Glover as Aaron Davis. That one was pretty cool. It was pretty
Yeah.
But the mention of, I've got a cousin, and it's like, it almost felt like they were trying to set up for where Spider-Man, I don't know. It was almost like they were trying to set up where Spider-Man was supposed to not succeed so much in Homecoming, if that makes sense. It might be me reading into it too much, but it still was, like, it felt like, all right, here's Spider-Man, he does whatever.
Yeah.
You gotta get me invested.
Right. Yeah. Now,
Now into the Spider-Verse, on the other hand, that was a good Miles Morales story.
Yes. Now, I don't have a problem with Spider-Man not getting things right immediately.
Right, because he's not supposed to.
Right. But the way I think the way it was executed here
Just felt like it was. It felt like it was done half-butted.
Yeah.
Like someone just decided they were going to pick up a pencil with their butt cheeks and write the Spider-Man Homecoming movie. Like, literally, I feel like all they did was take a pencil, stick it between their cheeks, and just be like, all right, and here is the Spider-Man Homecoming movie.
Yeah, because really, the biggest issue with this movie was the script.
Mm-hmm. It felt like it was phoned in, not by the actors,
No.
but by the writers, just so they could get a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if rent was due or they were hungry, but it was like phoned in. Oh, but here's the thing. Even then, even if you tried to you needed money for rent and food, you wouldn't, phone it in.
Oh.
No, because then you're like, listen, I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna make sure I write this script really freaking well. But overall, just Homecoming, not good.
Yeah.
Not good. Pretty weak.
Yeah. It's also worth noting that that Far From Home and No Way Home did have different writers than Homecoming, because Homecoming was written by the same people who wrote the Vacation reboot.
And I know how well that one went.
Yeah.
It did not go well. It was one of those movies where it's like, this kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that perfectly explains it. Did they study the character beforehand? Did they study any of the characters? Watch any of the MCU movies beforehand?
I don't know.
They probably didn't. They probably didn't, and it shows.
Yeah.
So there's the problem. It was the script.
Yeah, it was the script.
Yeah. So why was it a disappointment? Bad script. Bad script. Now, to be fair, for all the people that worked on it, they did the best they could.
Yeah.
But the script could have been better.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also the fact that this movie just feels so disconnected from the rest of the MCU.
It does. It did. It felt like it was just, whatever. Like its own pocket little thing where it was like, oh yeah, this happened. You would think, especially with this movie, there'd be a little bit more repercussions, a little bit more mentions of it throughout other movies.
Yeah.
Like, what was the one after Spider-Man Homecoming? What was the next movie?
Thor Ragnarok.
Okay. You would think that Homecoming would have had some impact. Well, not so much on Thor Ragnarok, but certainly with, Infinity War after that.
Yeah. And also, one thing that
it's almost like the events are just not mentioned. What were you saying?
There's a part in the movie where Happy is loading the plane, and he lists up all these all these different items, some kind of a magical belt for Thor, which we never get to see that.
There was a magical belt for that.
A new shield for Cap. What new shield? What?
Wouldn't it have been the holographic one, maybe? Oh no, wait! It would have been a nanoparticle or something like that.
I thought, at this point, the Avengers were broken up.
Yeah, that was my understanding, because Civil War happened and all this stuff, all the Avengers stuff was done.
Yeah.
Thor wasn't there, Hulk was not there, and Hulk and Cap was done with the Avengers.
Yeah. So now you're telling me that Tony has all this new equipment for them when they're not even together anymore?
Yeah.
That was weird.
It was. Yeah. I would definitely have to say this movie dropped the ball big time.
Big time.
All right. Well, I got nothing much else to talk about on that one.
Yeah.
So let's see. What should we do for our next stream? Whew. I mean, I would talk about She-Hulk, but let's be honest, the internet's doing enough tearing that thing to pieces. Episode 2 somehow is worse than Episode 1. I saw this one scene in the bar where, you know, the male partner for Jennifer Walters' law firm goes and says, "Oh, there's a hot chick over there. I'm gonna go talk to it." What guy, in what job, and what profession, and what world, and what reality would ever call a woman it? That's just rude. That's disrespectful. Because, like it or not, women are human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to say, "I'm going to go talk to it," no. I've talked with plenty of other guys who said, "Oh, hey, there's a cute girl over there. I'm going to go talk to her and get to know her." Instead of just putting her as like a freaking object. That was bad. It was bad. Ugh. So I guess we don't need to do She-Hulk because everyone's ripping it to pieces already. Well, let's see. What should we talk about next?
Let's see. Well, we have a few different options. I know you wanted to talk about Uncharted.
Yeah, Uncharted would definitely be one that I would love to talk about. That would be a fun one, just so that we can get away from like Marvel for just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is our 4th episode on Marvel, which all swell and fine, but let's give it a little break.
Yeah. Also, I want to go into a discussion about franchises and cinematic universes and why most of them often fail.
Okay. Well, I think seeing as how we did one on Spider-Man: Homecoming, how about next week we shoot for Uncharted?
Okay.
Because I have played 3 of the 4 games. Actually, no, wait, there's 5. So I've played 3 of the 5 games. And I have a pretty good idea on what Uncharted's supposed to be. And this movie was not it. Plain and simple. It was not Uncharted. All right, but that's it for us.
Yes.
All right, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And we will catch you guys
Next time.
in the next video.
Right.
All right. Toodaloo. Au revoir.